there are these girls fighting at Drake's house, and like he's totally saying in response to the girls fighting, come on, first cheesecake and now this. First you fight at Cheesecake and that's my favorite place to go, and now you're fighting where I live. Hi everyone, Don't Finny Touch Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a great album segment. It's at the end of the month, so now I am coming to recommend to you what my favorite releases have been over the past month. And the month of May has been incredibly fruitful for this channel. Quite a few records I fell in love with this past month. Let's recommend them! There are links to listen to music from all of these albums down below, as well as all of my reviews of these records are linked down below, so you could watch those too. This record came out back in April, but I got to it eventually and found that even though it wasn't, my usual thing, my usual style, I found it very impressive, very melodic, very heroic, very triumphant. The new Moonsorrow record, Jumalten, Aika. If you're looking for some very folky, progressive, black metal infused metal. This is a very progressive, a very linear, a very epic, and a very ambitious metal record with a lot of instrumental diversity across it. It may not be in your typical style either if you follow the reviews on a regular basis, because I don't review a lot of metal like this. And if so, I ask for you to give this thing a shot because it surprised even me just how much I enjoyed it. Next, the new Marissa Nadler album, Strangers. This is a very dreamy, eerie, chilly, mystical, beautiful, and pretty singer-songwriter record, and easily Marissa Nadler's most instrumentally diverse album yet, most instrumentally dense album yet, and I think it's the best crop of songs I have heard on a Marissa Nadler album so far. And yeah, just a good, classy singer-songwriter record with a very easygoing but very beautiful sound to it. Next, the new Seat Headrest album, Teens of Denial, a bit of a lo-fi indie rock album over here that's also pretty ambitious, a little long-winded. Some people were pissed off that I like this record, and I don't give a fuck. I think the songs are ambitious. I think they're a little over the top. I think some of the experimental and odd instrumental passages are pretty cool. And lyrically, all the songs here kind of follow this metamorphosis of frontman Will Toledo going through this process of, I don't know, kind of losing his mind and falling apart. I enjoy the spectacle of Will Toledo's insanity and the very catchy, well-written tunes on this project. Next, an EP from Gorguts, Canadian death metal band, technical death metal band, and this new project over here is essentially one very ambitious 30-minute long piece with multiple phases to it. It's very heavy, it's very abrasive, it's very dizzying. Gorguts being one of the few technical death metal bands whose output that I love, they came through once again with a solid piece of work on this one. Not a whole lot of complaints. It certainly is very much similar to their last full-length album, but I think some of the new sounds they explore on here, combined with the fact that it is kind of this one big cohesive piece on an EP, makes it worth, kind of revisiting this sound since it's got a bit of a different angle to it. Next, another metal record. Man, a lot of metal records this month. We have Vektor with their latest full-length LP, Terminal Redux. Almost a thrash metal opera here, where the band is telling this tale of this evil guy. It's totally insane, this freaking record. It's insane. It's so long. All the songs tell a story when they come together. And the character that frontman David DeSanto plays as he's singing these songs, he really sells it. In order to get the full experience, I recommend doing your best to try to find the lyrics of the album so you can kind of read along with them as you listen to the album, but it's still a decent set of very progressive thrash metal songs. I wish maybe Vektor experimented a little more and tried a few new things here and there, because a few of the tracks just kind of seem like Vektor by the numbers, even though they are a very creative and idiosyncratic band. There are some ways I think they could have pushed it a little further. And I think they do on a great deal of the cuts here. I mean, there's a great ballad toward the back end of this track. There are a few songs here where they bring fantastic group vocals into the fold. So you have these really cool chorus vocals combined with these thrash guitars, and they actually meld together really epically. So if you're looking for one of the most ambitious thrash metal records ever recorded, ever conceived, ever released, then you're going to want to give this thing a shot. Moving on to the latest Radiohead record, A Moon-Shaped Pool. Radiohead comes through with a great record, easily the dreariest record in their discography. So soft, so subtle. It's such a grower. This is not the type of album that's going to just hit you on first listen. It's going to take a little bit to kind of, I don't know, place yourself into the mood that I think this album requires you to be in order for it to appeal to you. This is not a communal album. This is not a party record. This is a very introspective, very somber release that I think works best when listened to in solitude. Couple more left, guys. Man, a lot of albums I loved this month. We have Death Grips. God damn, they came through with a new record, and it lived up to all my expectations. Bottomless Pit, definitely one of the catchiest records in their discography, has quickly become one of my favorite records of theirs. In a lot of ways, I think they returned to what they were doing on the Money Store, writing such catchy, direct songs, but they're so abrasive too. It's abrasive ear candy, and they're continuing to perfect the art of that with this release. I just think it's one of the most well-written set of songs that they've come out with in a while. I think the topics of these tracks too ring through really clearly, and the instrumentals are killer. You know, not only do I think they go back to that sort of catchiness and directness of the Money Store, but in a lot of ways what they do on every single track here, it's like a culmination of all the sounds and all the experiments and all the sonic adventures that they've taken on every album they've released thus far, and kind of bringing it all back to something that has this immensely clear, crisp, HD clarity to it. It's super destructive. It's super in your face. It's very bombastic. I love it. Next, the new Aesop Rock album, Impossible Kid. On this record, Aesop Rock comes through and essentially proves why he's still relevant as one of the most creative MCs on the market. This is also a very personal album for him, I think. He actually runs back, revisits some topics having to do with family, with friends, with his career. He gets a little nostalgic on here, occasionally reflects on his age and his outsider status in these songs. If you really want to hear Aesop self-reflect in a big way in his music, and he also does it in a way that I think is very coherent. Like, he really wants the audience to understand where he's coming from. You know, he's not buried so deep in symbolism and metaphors that it's actually kind of difficult to tell what exactly he's getting at with these tracks. If you really want to hear Aesop open up, not only as an artist, but as a person, you know, the man who is actually making the music, then I would give this thing a listen. And there's also a hilarious fucking track on here about his cat. And finally, we're going to end it off with the new King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album, Nonagon Infinity. This is one of the most interesting psych rock and psych punk records I've heard in a while. The album actually works in a continual loop. There's not really a moment on the record that feels like it's like the ending or really the beginning. You just kind of start the album probably really wherever you feel like, and it just kind of goes on and on and on and on. The closing track segues perfectly into the opening track, and every song from there on out actually segue into one another really nicely, and the entire release is just this amazing, intense, propulsive, throttling psych rock experience, man. There's so much guts to this thing. There's so much balls to this thing. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, the performances just have so much chemistry on this record. I just love the way all the guitars and all the drums kind of empower one another. And also I think there's quite a bit of influence coming off their last record here too, where they were just doing strictly acoustic instrumentation. So this isn't just kind of this fuzzy psych rock, very noisy, very, I guess, chaotic kind of experience. You know, there are some great melodies weaved into these tracks and some great extra instrumentation too, to just add some beautiful color to the abrasive and very heavy psych guitars. And those are all the recommendations that I want to make to you guys this month. check these freaking albums out. I think they're great. Don't let them slip through the trash. I'm recommending them to you, so you give them a shot. You the best. Anthony Fantano. Great albums. Transition. You should give all these albums a listen and love them and love them and love them and love them. I hope you are all doing well. Eat some fruits and veggies. Drink your water. Stay hydrated forever.